So, very good afternoon to all of you once again. So, the current session will be on New Education Policy 2020, and the lecture will be delivered by Professor Sandeep Grover sir from JC Bush University, YMCA Faridabad. So, without making any further delays for the session, I request Sandeep sir to please proceed. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, I'm just sharing the screen. Okay. Yeah. So I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, sir, the screen is visible now.
Okay. A very good afternoon to all of you. So in this session, we will just have an overview of the National Education Policy NEP 2020. So let us see how this National Education Policy has come up, why it has come up, what are the basic changes that are going to be there, and of course a lot is to be seen since the process of complete implementation. Okay, it's a long term planning, but still we have already started with working on this, and I'm sure that as a teacher, uh, or say as one of the important stakeholders, we have got a lot to do in this. Okay, so just a little background on this. I hope most of you must be aware that there was a draft national education policy which came up in May 2019, and this whole work was done under the chairmanship of Dr. K. Kasturi Rangan, and they submitted the report to the government to MHRD, and in May 2019, and then this report was very widely circulated through UGC and directly through MHRD also to all the institutions, and there was a lot of responses obtained, and there was discussion with the educators, researchers, policymakers. I mean, especially the academia group. So based on that, lots of changes were again being done, and the final version is what is known as NEP 2020, or the National Education Policy 2020. The earlier versions of such policy in our country were specifically in 1986, and the amended version that came up in 1992, and then after that this version has come, and let us see that why this version has come. What is the need of the new education policy? We are working in the system for a lot many years, and we find all the bodies intact, and we are all working together. But still, why? So the very first, or one of the few reasons, is that the world is undergoing rapid changes in the knowledge landscape. So the exactly the knowledge that we used to call as a conventional knowledge, there is a lot of change in that. There has been a lot of scientific and technological advances, and you will find that with the new knowledge landscape, we are now talking about the things like artificial intelligence. We have been talking like the things mainly on the say robotics.
Sorry to interrupt, sir, but your voice is not clear.
Is it not? Some disturbance is there.
Yes, some sort of disturbance is there.
Just let me check up. Just let me check up. Yeah, so I hope now it is okay.
Yes, sir, it's fine now.
Sorry. So why these all things have come up? Now even in the scientific and technological advancements, earlier also there were technical advancement, but now in the exponential manner we are talking about new technologies, and now in our country also we want that our students must have uh, some concepts clear or some courses, or they're able to work in future in the areas related to artificial intelligence, robotics, machine learning, big data. So all these areas have come up. So that's why there is a change in the landscape. So now we must teach our students, make them aware these technological advances also. There has been climate change, increasing pollution, and depleting natural resources. So, in that case, the knowledge has to be in such a way so that we don't continue studying in a single direction, and at the back end, we do not know that we don't have, our basic resources that are required for our living. We have seen the case of oxygen right now. Of course, this is all after NEP, but still now we are more talking about that, trees and pollutions and so many things for quite a few years now. Growing emergence of epidemics and pandemics will also call for collaborative research. Now, surprisingly, when this policy came up, and you will find that immediately after that, these things have started coming up. So now we feel more importance of the research in the case of interdisciplinary subjects, or maybe some new areas. So I think all those things are one of the reasons that there is a, we can say that yes, there is a knowledge, there are changes in the knowledge landscape. Based on these changes, now there is a changing employment landscape and the global ecosystem also. So as we were in the morning also, we were talking about the concept of outcome-based education. So this employment landscape has not only changed in terms of the education or in terms of the knowledge, but it has also changed up in the various areas that are now coming up. So lately we have been talking about that there are less students now, they are going for engineering options as compared to the earlier ones. People are going for arts fields or humanities fields or economics field. So over a period of time, when the employment landscape changes, so these things automatically turn up. And why only this? We want that our children not only learn, but more importantly learn how to learn. When I say learn how to learn means, it is something like saying that you should not give a person a fish if he is angry. You should tell him how to fish. This is an old English saying, which means that you must make them so smart, so multidisciplinary, and so curious, so innovative, that whenever the new things come, they must know how to learn them. So education must move towards less content, more into the practical aspects, and more towards the learning about how to think critically and solve the problems, how to be creative, multidisciplinary, and how to innovate, adapt, and absorb new material in novel and changing fields. So this new adaptability and all those things are only going to come when there are certain radical changes in the education system. So that's why we say the curriculum now must include basic arts, crafts, humanities, games, sports, fitness, all these things in addition to science and mathematics. Uh, Lately, we were more talking about these concepts of science and mathematics, and we were not able to give the upcoming students or the parents a reaction or a feedback that yes, there are lot and many lot opportunities in addition to science and mathematics also. So we want to make our education more well-rounded, useful, and fulfilling to the learner. So apart from the content of the rote learning, the student must have idea about all these basic concepts. So over a period of time, those things are changing and that are already coming up. But still, this new education policy proposes them in a formal manner. The curriculum must build character, enable learners to be ethical, rational, compassionate, and caring, while at the same time prepare them for gainful and fulfilling employment. So we have been more talking about the knowledge domain, So if we talk in terms of the outcome based education, we were more talking about the knowledge domain, requirement of the skill as required, but very less about the behavioral or the say empathy or maybe the other life skill management that are required for our students. So life skills are required, which were very much essential, and it is taught in this new education policy. So all those skills are to be embedded in some way in the curriculum or in the education, so that when a student is there out of the school or out of the college, I mean, he should have options, or he or she should have options more than what they have studied. So that means that opening up of mind should be in such a way that it is not that now yes it is only science, you are now you only go for science. And these things are coming up recently, since all of us are from the same field. So even you could have, you would have found that in a recently AICT when it came up, with the eligibility conditions. So there were a lot of discussions on that, but then yes, it was in tune with the line of this NEP 2020. In addition to that, we need to address the challenges of access to the education. So that is already there in this new education policy, and we are now talking about right to education from age 3 onwards. Equity has to be there, you know, and that of course equity is coming up and is going to come more in a way when we are saying that right to education is there. Quality of education, affordability of education, and accountability faced by the current education system. So we always say that these are the good things and these are the limitations. So whatever are the challenges being addressed in this area, so it has been tried that the new educational policies even addresses to them. Policy tries to provide the reforms at all level of education. So we'll be talking about the school education also, higher education also, how early childhood care is there, and what should be the current reforms, how the teacher training, B.Ed part is to be increased, how you have to say work upon the restructuring of the say colleges and the universities, and what are the target areas, and how to change the regulatory framework of the education. So having said this, one of another important reason is that the gap between the current state of learning outcomes and what is required must be bridged. So that means whatever is the current state of our own learning outcomes and what is required by the outside world, not only our country but the outside world, so that is to be bridged, and for that the major reforms are to be taken that bring the highest quality, equity, and integrity into the system from all levels, from the childhood care to the school education to the higher education or the professional education. Apart from this, the policy is proposing the revision and revamping of all aspects of education structure, including the structures that I've told, including the governance part, including the leadership, how schools or how colleges are going to become independent and self-governing instead of just being affiliated to university. And this new system of quality, or education of all, is being aligned with the sustainable development goal 4, for which our country is also a part of that. I hope you know something about SDG. So as per the uh, UN, and which has also been adopted by our country in 2015, the global education development agenda is reflected in goal 4, where the target is 2030. And to that, of the 17 goals, the SDG 4 talks about to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all by 2030. So this is actually the SDG 4 out of the 17 goals that are there of sustainable development goals. These are the 17 ones. I am sure some of you might be aware, but these are the goals 1 to 17. So you see that the fourth goal is the education, and all countries are working for that. They also sat together in 2020, and I hope if you go to the website, there is a lot of information available to them that how we are also working for this sustainable development goal 4, and the new education policy is one of the major pillars or major making us to go to the targets of SDG 4. Fine. So having said this, this is what is the vision of this policy. It says that our country, where the Indian ethos are there, and it has to directly contribute to transform the country, uh, our country into equitable and vibrant knowledge society by providing high quality education to all and thereby making India a knowledge superpower. So that is one of the major visions of this policy. So apart from that, we also want that our students must understand, along with their technical concept, along with their curriculum aspect, what are their fundamental duties, the ethics part, the bonding with one's own country, the constitutional values. So I think those things are there at some part of time, but it is expected that now students more learn about it, understand it, and they have more bonding with the country. So this is another vision. Apart from that, uh, we must bring something in our students through this education system, through telling them about the advantages of our own Indian ethos, our great persons, the scientists, the researchers, so that not only in thought but even in spirit, intellect, and deeds, they have deep rooted pride in being Indian. You see, this is very important. And how this is being done, I hope some of you must be attending those UHV classes of AICT. So I think that is one of the ways in which universal human values are being transferred from the teachers to the students. Okay, so apart from that, with this vision, so these are the principles of this policy. So I think we'll go them when we go along with how these changes have been there. Recognizing, identifying, and fostering the unique abilities of each student. Actually, these are in general policies which some of which are taken care at the school level. Some of them are the, say, higher education level, or maybe in the research. Say for example, we have been talking about multidisciplinary holistic education across science, social science, arts, humanities, and sports. So this principle is being taken care, that we are coming up the educational institutions, the hub education institutions, the bigger institution where opportunities will be there for the students to learn all these things. And this will take care of the school level, that there are no hard separations between the arts and the sciences, curricular or extracurricular activities between vocational and academic streams. What is happening is that now, if you take some vocational stream in class 11th or in class 12th, students are not able to pursue careers in that. Why? Because students and parents, they do not see any say a road which is leading to the success, or maybe the greenery they are not able to see. So those things have to come up, that these things are not inferior. That has what been thought, that if you are not able to get science, you go to this stream or that stream. So those things have to be changed now by having a proper pathways for the different types of the streams. And not only this, it has to be brought through this policy, that apart from the education, uh, you have to go away with the rote learning. You have to understand the things conceptually. You have to be a proud Indian. The ethics and the old ethos, Indian ethos, you have to understand, and you have to come up with a creativity or the innovative part in your mind. And all those will only come when you have got various options, when you have got various say flexibility system. You are able to do one course in online mode, you are able to do one course in offline mode, one from Indian University, one from say some international university. And then where it is summing up in somewhere called, say, academic bank of credits. Like these, there are many things. Actually, this policy is of 66 pages, but these 66 pages, there is so much to read between these lines, and the implementation part, that slowly and slowly, I am sure we are going to reap the benefits of this. So it has been, it is talking about life skills, extensive use of technology, as I told you, over a period of time, depending on the quality and depending on whether you are say proper accreditation grades, you will be able to run the online courses. So at the end of the day, the target is that our GER should be up to 50%, the gross enrollment ratio. Okay. Teachers and faculty are the heart of learning system, light but tight regulatory framework. So the regulatory framework is going to change. And of course, there are some options for the outstanding research. So apart from this I have already told you, rootedness and pride in India, education as a public service, and there's going to be a lot of investment. So things are going to change, and that change is already started, and we all are a part of this change. So this change has to happen through us. Okay. So with this in mind, let us see what are the key features of this new education national education policy. We also say sometimes new education policy, but exactly it is NEP is National Education Policy 2020. So if I give you a broad idea what is the school education, so there are now specific guidelines which you called as the ECCE, Early Childhood Care and Education, for the parents and teachers, and there is going to be improvement in the Anganwadi system. The Right to Education Act 2009, it has now coverage starting from 3 years instead of 6 years and moving up to 18 years. The curriculum framework is now being changed. So starting from the fundamental stage, the preparatory stage, the middle stage, and the secondary stage. So that we are going to see next slide. So school exam reforms, as I told you, you have to go away with the road system. Everything has to be restructured. The board examination, how do you test the concept, the conceptual part of the student, and of course the higher order capabilities. So this slide something shows that comparison between the previous academic structure and the new structure. So there we started. Here we are starting with so that was a 10+2 system. So here we are starting with the foundation part. So that foundation part, when you say it is up to say 3+2. So 3 years. What I say is 3 to 6 years. That means starting from age 3. So it is like you can say something like preschool. So now also preschool system is there, but that is not organized in a way that how you are able to say do all things in a systematic way. Then after 3 years, that is 3 to 6 years, then is the actual school. You can say that is started conventional one and class one and class two. So that is all foundation part. Then you have a preparatory stage, which is from say class 3 to class 5, and then class 6 to class 8, again 3 years it's a middle, and finally it is a class 9 to class 12, it is a secondary. So those are the major changes that are going to be there. And apart from that, in between them, how the subjects are to be there, how the languages are to be there, how the whole system has to be changed. And specifically, as I told you, there would be a strong base for the guidelines and base for the early childhood care and education. So that would require development also and the training also of the teachers, and that is to be done by the say NCERT. So a national curricular and pedagogical framework for the early childhood care and education. So for ECCE that we are talking, there would be a national framework on that for the children up to class 8, and that is to be developed by NCERT. Similarly, these things will be strengthened, as I told you, the foundation part. So the early childhood education institutions, the Anganwadi is a pre-primary school and the standalone preschool. So those development is going to there in this. Curtailing dropout rates is one of the important parameters, and especially in the school level, and ensuring universal access to the education at all levels. The learning has to be holistic, integrated, enjoyable, and engaging, so that you know there are little dropouts, and the students find the education quite interesting and engaging. And of course, that empowerment is still it is there, but yes, then more empowerment will be there through flexibility in the choices of the courses by the students. And as I told you that there has to be no hard separation between what we call as all these activities. So these activities will be a part. Say for example, if you are going for any activity, maybe extracurricular activity or a debate or maybe some drama or maybe some sports. So that whole the things will be part of your system. And it is not that science people are going to study science only. No, some knowledge, those academic streams, some reforms would be there, so that uh, you know you develop yourself as a that particular candidate for going to college, that you have got more than one option. It's not only that, say if you have taken this biology and you will be going into this stream, if you don't get it in medicine, you go to BSc or so. No. So that is what is the purpose, that how a holistic student is being developed. Now you might feel that I mean choices are still there, but choices are still there, but those choices, do all the choices do not have the pathways. So the pathways will be decided, so that once you decide a particular say stream, say a vocational stream, then what are the further pathways to that? Subjects such as physical education, the arts, crafts, in addition to science, humanities, will be incorporated throughout the school curriculum with a consideration for what is interesting and safe at each age. So that's what I was telling you, that all the things will be embedded in the curriculum itself. So apart from that, teacher management, we're not going to discuss in detail, right? Teacher management, teachers to be deployed in schools for at least 5 to 7 years, go away with the non-teaching activities. Now there is a lot of hue and cry on this, that teachers are being put on various types of duties. Why only school, but in college level also. So in school levels, all these things during the teaching hours or maybe during the working time. So this would not be there. And this existing B.Ed program is going to be replaced, and then there would be a 4-year integrated B.Ed programs. Apart from this, the regulations are going to change. The school governance, the accreditation system, as I told you, that this comprehensive national curriculum framework for teacher education is going to be there. So all those things are going to come up in the part of the governance also. Let us give a little more stress to higher education. So when I talk about higher education, this policy covers about the vision of the quality higher education. This policy covers the institutional restructuring, how the school or how the colleges and universities are going to be restructured, and consolidation of these colleges towards a more holistic and multidisciplinary education, and optimal learning environments and support for the students. Then it talks much about the how the faculty is the nodal point, the motivated, energized, and capable faculty. Equity and inclusion higher education. It talks about teacher education. It talks about reimagining the vocational education, uh, and catalyzing the academic research in all fields through a national research foundation that is going to be developed. And of course the regulatory system transformation has to be there. So you find that is the things have already started. So we have instead of MHRD, we got in the Ministry of Education, effective governance and leadership for the higher educational institution. So these are some of the main parts or main broad areas in which this higher education is in NEP is being focused. So if we talk about the vision for the quality higher education, so one is the development of the holistic individual. So that is how it is to be done. That we are going to see, enabling the specialized areas and also developed character, ethical and constitutional values, intellectual curiosity, scientific temper, creativity. So this is what is being thought. This is what is the dream of this all change. Capabilities across a range of disciplines, including sciences, social sciences, arts, and the other subjects, technical and the vocational subjects. Now, what is to be done for this? One of the major things, as I told you, is the restructuring and the consolidation to end the fragmentation of higher education by transforming higher education institutions into large multidisciplinary universities. So now what is happening actually is that over a period of time, there are so many colleges, there are so many universities, that you will find that in some colleges are at far off places, or maybe some colleges are very much together. There is a cluster of colleges, students are not there, admissions are less. So all the things are happening in a way. Why? Because there is a fragmentation of higher education. So, I mean, divide into different parts. So, this policy says that we are going to develop, consolidate rather, large multidisciplinary universities, colleges, and higher education institution clusters or the knowledge hub. So, they are going to get together, lying in the ancient Indian universities with Takshila, Nalanda, and so on. So, where we had thousands of students from India and abroad. So what is the advantage out of this? One of the major advantages that is going to be there in this is that there will be active and vibrant community. Oh no, no, nowadays if there is one college, say for example engineering college, and that student does not have any access to law courses, that student might not have any access to other some vocational courses. Why? Because there is no expertise, there is no faculty, and that is altogether a different field. So one important thing what this would be, that there will be community of researchers, community of scholars, and those can be vibrant because now there is a chance for cross-disciplinary research and all-round development. Of course, uh, in this the all-round, for the all-round development, the resource efficiency would already be there, so the resources will already be shared. So this is one part of institution restructuring. Apart from that, a university will mean a multidisciplinary institution of higher education. So if today I say that JC Bose University is a technical university, so those say nomenclatures are going to change. Not only technical, but also to include the other spheres of the education, maybe by clubbing, maybe by expanding, maybe by consolidation. So institution, multidisciplinary institute of higher learning that offers UG and graduate programs with high quality teaching, research, and community engagement. So you have wide spectrum like research intensive university or teaching intensive university or an autonomous degree granting college. So a large institution would be there, which would be granting say UG degrees. No? So that would be a UG college, or you can say the degree autonomous degree granting college, and it would be a smaller as compared to university, but still it would be quite large because there will be a lot of say such courses going on. But yes, that college would be autonomous college, it will not be affiliated to a university. So over a period of time, when you give autonomy to the colleges, now also there is a system when you talk about the affiliated colleges. So those affiliated colleges, some of them are permanent affiliated to university based on some preset criteria, or some of them are autonomous colleges by the university or by the UGC. So over some of the schemes with the graded autonomy to be given, so every college will develop into either a autonomous degree granting college or a constituent college of the university. So that means we will not have colleges right now as we are having. So they are either going to be a part of the university, or they are going to be self-sufficient in terms of the granting the degree granting colleges. So maybe over a period of time, if those colleges want to develop, they may also be into research intensive or the teaching intensive universities if they aspire so. So that means what we have seen in this consolidation and development is that there would be three broad types of institutions. So one you can say are the autonomous colleges, big colleges which are granting degree, lot many courses, or there can be a university which can be teaching or a research type of university. And moving from one category to other category, the option would already be there. So apart from this, not only this, they have to engage with the community. They might have to engage with the, say, the political system. They might have to engage with the school system. So in addition to teaching and research, the higher education institutions will have other responsibilities through resourcing, incentive, and structure. So those structures and the say resources have to be used in such a way so that they are going to support the other higher education institution in the development, maybe some community engagement, some service to the community, and contribution to various fields of practice, faculty development for education system, and also support to the school system. So like a very big system. So expectations are that every district in our country is going to have one such say big university or the cluster of say such colleges. Uh, Now this consolidation, expansion, and more higher education institutions shall be established and developed in underserved regions. Just give me a yeah. To ensure full access, equity, and the inclusion. So that is the vision of this policy, and both this private and public system will be there, and there will be no, of course, say a perfect like you say that there is a demarcation. Those demarcations would not be there, and but yes, there would be option to learn or to provide the instructions in the different languages also. Right now also, AICT has started this thing, and it is coming up with offers to teachers that if you can write or translate a book in this language or in that language. And the target is to increase GR, gross enrollment ratio, which is currently around 26. The target is to 50. So not only this, by say offering a host of courses, but then some ODL, open distance learning courses, and of course the online courses will be there. So the single stream HEIs will be phased out over time. So just understand this. Single stream HEIs means one institution which is providing only single subject or single discipline, and will move towards becoming vibrant multidisciplinary institutions, or parts of a vibrant multidisciplinary HEA cluster. So they would are going to be, they are going to be part of this cluster. So these changes are going to be there, of course. uh, Proper planning and timing has to be there. So as I told you, increase in GR up to 50% by 2035. Of course, this will also include the vocational education, and about 3.5 crore seats to be added in the higher education. The current GR, as I told you, is about 26. So the undergraduate education, there will be flexible curriculum. So that means when you are going for a BSc degree, or a say graduate degree, then the option would be of 3 or 5 years. There will be multiple exit options and appropriate satisfaction within this period. So how that appropriate satisfaction is going to be there? So there is a flexibility to offer different designs of master's program. Like there may be a 2 year master program, where the second year is devoted entirely to the research. For whom? For those who have done degree of 3 years, bachelor degree. So 3 plus 2, you know. Or there may be a student who has done a 4 year bachelor's program with research. So bachelor program is also of two types. One is 3 years and one is 4 years. So in 4 years, when you do, you are also doing, 1 year that research program. And if you go for a master's, then for you the master's program will only be 1 year. Okay, and of course that integrated program will go on that 5 year bachelor to the master program, uh, and PhD shall require either a master's degree or a 4 year bachelor's degree with research. And Higher Education Commission of India will be set up as a single umbrella body for the entire education, and excluding the medical and the legal education. Public and private higher education institutions will be governed by the same set of norms of regulation, accreditation, and academic standards. Now also, most of them are same, but yes, there are different. Sometimes there are different. Say, what should I say? The statutes, or maybe the what you call for the university system. So there may be some different norms for, say, deemed universities and things like that. So those things are going to go away. Fine. So as I told you, the Higher Education Council is going to have these four independent verticals. One is National Higher Education Regulatory Council, only for the regulation purpose. General Education Council for the standard setting. Higher Education Grants Council for the funding, and National Accreditation Council for accreditation. So these are just things are going to come up. How these developments take place. So we have to wait for them. But yes, everything has started right now. Okay. This I told you that affiliation of college is going to be phased out since there will be multidisciplinary institutions. So this is going to be phased out in 15 years, and a stage-wise mechanism to be established for granting graded autonomy to colleges. So it's not that just go away. No, it has to be in a graded manner. So let us see who are able to compete, who are able to improve the quality, and who are able to get this graded autonomy. So over a period of time, every college is expected to develop either into a autonomous degree granting college or constituent college of the university that I told you before also. So and another important part here is MPhil courses are going to be discontinued, and all the courses at undergraduate, postgraduate, and PhD level will now be interdisciplinary. So that interdisciplinary part is going to come, and one major change that has already started is the Academic Bank of Credits, ABC. It is to be established to facilitate the transfer of credits. So in February 2021, UGC has already issued regulations in this. And if some of you are interested, you can very well go to UGC website and see to that. And why only this? Just last week only, there is another draft regulation from UGC regarding that. Say some of the courses, not on some of the courses, one course, 40% of the contents can be done through online teaching. So there also you will find a lot of details have been given about this ABC. Okay. Then the multidisciplinary education and research universities at par with IITs, IIMs to be set up as models of best multidisciplinary education of global standards in the country. And of course, research foundation, as I told you, will be created as an apex body for a strong research culture. So now we don't have any single body as an apex body which is only for research, and that is where some development is required, and I think that is going to build the research capacity across the higher education. Right. So this I think yeah, multidisciplinary part that we discussed earlier also. So the curricula has to be innovative and flexible. Credit-based courses, projects in the area of community engagement and service, environment education, and value-based education. So that interdisciplinary part is there. So something engaging community also. Now sometimes we become very rigid when a student goes for a project. We ensure that it is in line with whatever PG or degree he or she is doing. So that multidisciplinary part will come into the picture. So that a holistic concept is there. Optimum learning environment and support for students is another part of higher education. So I think this part is already there at some part, but yes, it has to be strengthened in terms of the curriculum and maybe the multi-point entry and exit and flexibility for the students. So that student support is the main part in this. Faculty, a lot of role has been given to the faculty in this whole new education policy, and it has been said that faculty has to be made very strong in a way that the success of the education institution is the quality engagement of faculty. So it is not only engagement of faculty in this way. It also talks about the recruitment of the faculty, the standards thereof. It also talks about the autonomy to the faculty, and how the development of the faculty is going to take place. So all these things are also being covered in this, which under the heading of motivated, energized, and capable faculty. Then we talk about, as I told you, the special emphasis on the sustainable development goals. So this policy envisions ensuring equitable access to quality education to all the students. So this is another one of the parts of SDG that I have shown you earlier. Okay. Uh, so a special, part, say chapter is there on the technology, where the National Mission on Education through Information and Communication Technology and National Repository on Education Data will be covered up by, still it is there in different forms. Say at some form it is being kept of UGC or so, but then this technology part will be specifically covered in the education. And a lot of stress has been given to vocational education in this policy also. Say as per the data available, say there is a less than 5% of the Indian workforce in age group of 19 to 24 which have received formal education, Whereas you find this is the number in different countries. In US it is 52%, Germany 75, and Korea it is as high as 96%. Why it is there? Because now I told you that there is a mindset, there is a mental block that vocational courses, vocational education is something like a second grade. So you first go for, say, very highly asked for courses, and then if you don't get admission, number one is that. Second, as I told you, there are no exact pathways. Of course, we have been now coming up in the skill education. BVOC courses are there, and that will continue to be there. So the proposal is that there will be at least one vocational course in the grade 9 to 12, and HEIs to offer vocational courses that are integrated in the UG program itself, right? And that is National Committee of Integration of Vocational Education. So all these policies, all these guidelines are to become. And when I talk about professional education, that means I am talking about the polytechnic, the diploma courses, the engineering degree courses, the management courses, MBA courses. So all such courses which we are working upon. Now you find that there are standalone universities, which can be the Agriculture University, Legal University, Health Science University. So they will aim to become multidisciplinary institutions. So holistic and multidisciplinary education. Say one of the data says that uh, see there are I think 8 to 9% universities which are in the area of the agricultural agriculture universities. But if you talk in terms of enrollment, there is a less than 1% enrollment in the agriculture university. So that balance has to be there. So that's why it has to be a multi institution, so that
Sir, one more question, sir.
yeah.
Sir, shall we use AICT NPTEL courses as they have some credits, 3 credits, 2 credits, 1 credits, those courses are having. Shall we use these courses along with the UG course for what additional credits?
Yes, these courses will already be there. And let me tell you, you just go through one document that has come up on UGC website last week only, which talks about this online education. So there it is written how those courses are to be taken from where. There is in the last few pages, there is a list of lot many resources from where the students can go for courses, and they have allowed that 40% up to 40% of the content by the teacher can also be taught through online system. So all those are going to be there, NPTEL and SWAYAM courses.
Okay, so suppose if I am having some professional ethics course in my UG, and if I am doing some personal soft skill and personal skill development courses in NPTEL, we can do course mapping.
No, can you repeat the question?
Sir, suppose I am having professional ethics in for my student undergraduate program. Shall I map some courses from NPTEL such as related to ethics and soft skill development like courses?
No, see, these nitty-gritties are to be decided when you are drawing the curriculum. So this policy talks in a holistic way that these things are to be integrated. Now, how they are to be integrated, that is to be done by the teachers like us. So when the curriculum is being developed, when such policies are being made, so you are right that these courses are allowed, very much allowed, and of course now also universities are allowing this, that you do mapping with the courses, you match the contents. If the contents are not matching, then you can take up those courses from NPTEL or say maybe some other SWAYAM platform. I think that facility is now also it is there available as far as universities are concerned. Of course, each university to get through each university academic council, but then yes, there is a provision.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So, as I told you, all institutions offering either professional or general education will aim to evolve as a cluster, in an integrated manner. So one big cluster has to be there. It is not only that this is only a technical university or this is only law university. So those integrations are going to come maybe by 2030. Similarly, as I told you, agriculture education is going to be revived. Legal education is going to be made globally competitive. And one of the important, statements that I could take it from that was the state institutions offering law education must consider offering bilingual education for future lawyers and judges in English and in the language of the state in which the institution is situated. Now, what is to be done for this is to be decided. So, the holistic policy talks about the major things in these 66 pages, and then how they are to be carried out. There is a lot of work to be done. The health education system needs to be envisioned so that the duration, structure, and design of the education programs can be renewed, can be reviewed. And very important and very interesting, healthcare education system must be integrative, meaning thereby that all the students of allopathic medical education must have basic understanding of the parallel medical system also, Ayurveda also, yoga also. So it is, you can't say that I am an allopathic doctor, I don't know nothing about Ayurveda, nothing. So it has to be, for the mankind. So what best can be done? Is it 100%, people say, is it 100% allopathic, or is it yoga, is it naturopathy, is it homeopathy? So you have to make a best combination of that. What are those say areas in which allopathic is going to be best? What are those areas in which you say that it is not an emergency condition? So why not to go for a yoga, or why not to go for maybe allopathic or Ayurvedic? So depending upon that, it will only be possible once a student has got a basic education in basic understanding in all these concepts. Okay. So technical education, including degree and diploma, management, etc. So they are critical to India's overall development. These words I have included because a lot of people ask me कि ये बीटेक डिग्री होगी कि नहीं होगी, पॉलिटेक्निक डिप्लोमा होगा कि नहीं होगा, MBA. So these all things are going to be there. The structures are going to change. So that's why I have written specifically, including degree, diploma, technology, management, maybe the hotel management, or maybe art. So all these similar things are going to be there. So there will not only be a greater demand for well qualified manpower in these sectors, requiring close collaborations between industry and higher education institutions. And technical education, therefore, will also aim to be offered within the multidisciplinary education institutions and programs. So whatever we are talking about this, say the big institutions, big universities, or multidisciplinary, say cluster. So this is also going to be offered there, and there will be renewed focus on the opportunities to engage deeply into other disciplines. So that's what I said. You are going to become an engineer, but now you cannot study a subject of law. You might not be having some access to a course in geography. So why? Because there is no opportunity. So there will be renewed focus on the opportunities to engage deeply in other disciplines. So India must also take the lead in preparing professionals in cutting edge areas that are fast gaining prominence. So this is also one of the major purposes, like the areas that we've been talking now. So I think these are the areas which AICT has already started talking since last approval process handbook, and now it is also allowing to open up or the enhanced seats in these areas, provide honors degree or maybe a minor for the other branches by taking additional 20 credits. So I think all these things are very important so that our future the professionals that do have they are prepared in this cutting edge areas. Fine. Some of the targets, see by what all is expected in this. At least 50% of learners through the school and higher education system shall have exposure to vocational education. So that is what is the target. So this is in alignment with the Sustainable Development Goal 4.4. By 2030, all higher education institutions to become multidisciplinary. There would be at least one large multidisciplinary HEI in or near every district. So that is what is expectation, that this cluster will be there. By 2035, there will be increase in the GER, and we expect to achieve it by 50% by 2035, of course, including the vocational education. And then the system of this affiliate college will go because there will be graded autonomy. So they are going to be clubbed together again. They are going to be a constituted college, or they are going to be part of university, or they are going to be say those autonomous colleges. Okay, and also through a suitable system of graded accreditation and graded autonomy over a period of 15 years, all HEIs, not only those colleges, all HEIs in India will become independent self-governed institutions pursuing innovation and excellence. And all HEI shall aim to become multidisciplinary institutions over a development over a next 5 years that have larger student enrollments, preferably in thousands. Okay. And that's why this nomen of HEIs in the country, such as deemed to be university, affiliating technical university, so they all will be replaced by a single word, that is a university, and you will have to fulfill the criteria as per the norms. So no separate guidelines as are there existing in the existing things. So this is the major part in the our higher education system. So that I wanted to stress more. Then we have been there is a stress on the adult education, financing the education in Indian languages. So I thought I will put up major stress on the say the professional education, or maybe on the part of the higher education, or some concept to the school education. So this is a whole like a it consists of only maybe 66 pages, but then if you go through this, so this is available on various websites, Ministry of Education also, and maybe your AICTE website also. So you will find that this whole booklet is there. So lot many things are covered in this in much, I should not say in detail, but yes, indicators are there. So you have to read between the lines. So all the developments are going to take place. So this is all it talks about. Okay. So let me add up one more thing. Now somebody asked me that when it will be implemented. So I said that one is that it has already started implementing, and secondly, the implementation is we have to do implementation wherever is our duty, wherever or which place we are. So whatever works given to us. So at that part, that implement has to be done. But still, I just worked through here, and there are some websites, and I could find in the implementation process some of the documents which I thought that yes, now I can say that these are some of the documents which relate to the implementation part. Say one of the things is this talks about of a document where it's a part of NEP 2020, that as a part of multidisciplinary, now you also include NCC as an elective subject in the Indian universities. So where is the detail? Let me find out. Okay, so approval process handbook, you already see there are changes in the AICTE approval process handbook that are already there. And then there are regulations in UGC regarding that ABC, Academic Bank of Credit. Then there is a regulation by AICTE on the online courses. So how can you go for online courses, because the notification is there. And of course, this process I have already talked about. And if in a very small note, if I talk about this, so what you say is already implemented, or I mean, say the initial one I told you, Ministry of Education. Okay, the concept of flexibility is being implemented in AICTE. It is going to come up more and more, and as talks of professional education, India must also take the lead in preparing professionals in cutting edge technologies like artificial intelligence, and this is what is covered in NEP. And this part has already been taken care by AICTE. So now you find that all these upcoming technologies and things are a part of system AICTE. For the holistic and multidisciplinary education, So the academic bank of credit shall be established, and that already has come up, as I told you, through a draft notification by UGC. Then NCC as elective, as I told you. Then AICT has already been talking about the universal human values. So all those things that we were talking about, the professional ethics and the values in 11.8. So those have been now taken care by AICT and are being taken care. Digital education, there are a lot of things that are coming up, and SWAM is one of them. So the latest one that I could not include, that last week only, that UGC has come up with a draft regulation regarding that online, teaching by the teachers for a particular subject. 40% of that is allowed, and apart from that, there is a huge amount of knowledge if you go through that. So what I mean to say is that implementation part is already started, and it's not something that you say that you just press a button and the policy is implemented. So slowly and slowly, of course, the pandemic might have, to some extent, maybe some restricted, but yes, all the things are going in parallel, and I am sure that it is going to be a great experience for teachers to be a part of this implementation over a period of time. Okay, so thank you very much. So what I request the organizers, ma'am, are you there? Komal Dahiya, ma'am, are you there? Okay, so if there are any points of discussion, I mean, this is just a policy that is coming up. So how the things are going to come, that is to be seen through policy only. But still, I'm also a part, and you're also a part. So if there is something to be discussed, we can discuss. Or otherwise, to the organizers, I would request that.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Sir, can you share the slides or it will be in YouTube?
These slides I am just preparing. I am working on them. So,
Okay, okay.
that's what I'm telling to the organizers, that if they share the whole policy with you people, of course you can get it. But still, I want to, because in the last lecture there were many things that were indigenous. So I had developed all those things myself. So those you will be able to see. I am going to share that link in the evening today, and
Okay, sir.
this is all things that I've taken from there.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So okay. So ma'am, can you Komal Dahiya ma'am or somebody, Dr. Manju?
Yes, sir.
So can you this policy document I will be sharing with you,
Okay, sir.
available on all the websites.
Okay.
So our purpose is that all the teachers must involve in development of this policy, and they must have some overview of this policy. And
Okay.
when they go back to their colleges, to the institutions, so that is the purpose of AICT, that in each course, one lecture is to be kept on NEP 2020, so that overview we will go more into deep and deep. So in this 1 or 1.5 hour, so very just a tip has been given overview. So I would request you to mail this policy to all the participants.
All right, sir. I'll do that.
So the policy, I think you can take it from the education website, or it's a 66-page policy.
Okay, sir.
Otherwise I will forward you. So please, just let it have with everyone.
Okay, sir.
And
We'll send
the link for today's morning and yesterday's lecture. So that YouTube, that link I am going to give you in the evening today.
Okay, sir.
So that also you give it to them. Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. Thank you everyone.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. We are truly humbled by your numerous insightful contribution to this lecture. And contribution of such caliber can only come from a true intellectual like you. Thank you so much for teaming up with us. Your ability to interact with the audience and sustain the interest throughout the lecture was seriously wonderful. The team of GVM ITM is most grateful to you for your contribution and efforts. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Madam, before I leave, there are 1 or 2 questions in the chat box. So as a teacher, I am unable to resist myself.
That's all right, sir. Please go ahead.
So one is this SDGs they have written. So this is a sustainable development goals. So we are talking about the education goal, that is part 4. And Then there's open distance learning, maybe online. See, both are different. Distance learning is different and online learning is different. So like you see, IIT Madras has come up with a BSc course in online learning. So those degrees are online. So they're both different things and they are going to, contribute to our GER. Okay. So what about diploma level institutions? Yes, they are going to be there. What will be the entry level for diploma? So those are guidelines are to be decided, but expectations are same. So as a policy matter, as for NEP, yes, everything is going to be there like that. Then one of our friends has given this link for downloading the policy. Yes, you can download from there. I haven't seen, but why not to go directly to the Ministry of Education website or the AICTE website? Okay, so okay, that's all. Thank you so much. Thank you. So
Thank you, sir. Dear participants, tomorrow's session will begin at 10 a.m. sharp. The session will be on rubrics as assessment tool. That will be delivered by Professor Dharmendra Gupta, JGU Hisar. And before leaving the session, please don't forget to mark your attendance and fill the feedback form. Thank you so much. Have a nice evening, everyone.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.